The concept of surrendering when it comes to anxiety is something that is very, very interesting and something that is not fully understood by most anxiety sufferers. When anxiety sufferers come into contact with the idea of surrender, they believe they're surrendering their body, their soul, their spirit, everything. But true surrender means to surrender the unconscious perceptions, the feelings, mainly the negative feelings that arise, to surrender all the guidance coming from your lower self slash inner child slash subconscious mind, to surrender all of those things that are mainly delusions, all of those things that keep us in a perpetual state of fear and continue to activate our fight or flight responses, therefore not allowing us to see what is true, but only allowing us to see what could potentially be a threat. And this maintains fear, it maintains anxiety, it maintains the label of anxiety disorder. Next thing you know, people go about their lives only seeing this much, only hearing this much, only feeling this much. And we cut ourselves off from all our potentials, but not only potentials internally, but potentials externally in terms of circumstances and social relationships and successes and so on and so forth. So anxiety doesn't only cut us off from better life experiences and different feelings, but it cuts us off from all sorts of potentials in different aspects of our lives. So you come to a park with the idea of surrendering, and you come to the park and you recognize the birds that are chirping. You take in your environment and all the greenness around you. You take in everything, your environment, your external environment. And that actually starts to lead to being face to face with your internal environment. And you're at the park and you've got this idea of surrender. So not only are you surrendering to everything around you and the things that your lower self doesn't necessarily like, such as people conversing with one another and being too loud, the car is going by. The lower self is very distracted by these things, saying, you know what, no, this is affecting our pride. How could that possibly happen? And we get angry. This isn't the kind of environment that I set myself up for. I wanted to come to a park and find peace. Next thing you know, the lower self perpetuates the fear, the anxiety arises, and no environment is good enough for us. But once you come to a park like this, with the idea of surrender, you're not only surrendering to everything external, you're surrendering to everything internal. And you have these negative feelings. And for once in your life, you're not distracting yourself by doom scrolling on social media. You're not distracting yourself in other ways. You're not running from it. But you're actually face to face with the feelings that you no longer want in your life. And once you're face to face with these feelings you no longer want in your life, a lot of people start to panic because it's a very unfamiliar act. And this unfamiliar act is something they're not used to. They're very uncomfortable with the idea of being face to face with the very things internally that they want to be rid of. And they think, at least the lower self makes you think, that if you come face to face with the feelings that you no longer want to feel, and the thoughts that you no longer want to think, that's a bad thing. Lower self doesn't want you to feel the things that you truly want to get rid of or rid yourself of. So the lower self always looks to do things to keep us from being face to face with the feelings, emotions, the thoughts, the images internally that tend to perpetuate anxiety. But here's the truth. When it comes to surrendering, you and the anxiety are looking at each other face to face, and all the elements that come with anxiety face to face. And you're making it your friend. As you make it your friend, you make it your master. Actually, you are mastering your anxiety. Anxiety is no longer your master, but you are mastering your anxiety and all the elements that come with it. And once you start feeling these things, all the elements of anxiety, the sensitivity, the feelings, the sensations in the body, and even the intrusive ideas and the images and the visualizations that show up unconsciously and such, once you're face to face with all these things, the hesitation gets sparked, question marks show up, defense mechanisms show up by the subconscious mind or the lower self saying, what are you doing? This could go wrong. Or lower self starts to distract you, right? Look at that thing that's happening out there. Look at that thing that's happening out there. The sensations, the symptoms start to get stronger once you start to do the very thing that you really haven't done before, which is come face to face with your anxiety and all the elements, and you start to surrender to it. And the surrendering is more so holding up a white flag saying, you know what, I'm no longer going to battle with you. I'm no longer going to fight with you. I'm not going to try so very hard to get you to come to my higher self side. Because the trying, the fighting, the striving for are the very things that keep you in a very tense state. And the more tension that builds up in the body, the more possibility that we succumb to the intrusive ideas that are connected to anxiety. So surrendering means to befriend anxiety in all its elements, right? Surrendering is to hold up the white flag and say, you know what? You win. You win. Right? I'm no longer trying to win, therefore creating a tug of war and all this conflict within me. I'm no longer trying or fighting or striving to win. You win. And as you surrender, you sit there, hopefully with your eyes closed, because when your eyes are closed in a park, there's even more uncertainty that arises because people start to walk by and look at you, right? And anxiety sufferers have a very hard time with that level of uncertainty because there's judgment there. There's conscious judgment coming from other people when your eyes are closed and sitting on a bench, right? That's a huge test. That's a massive challenge, right? But you truly need to prove to your entire organism, your system, especially your lower self, which you need, by the way, to some degree, your lower self. You prove to the lower self that the judgments by others are meaningless, and the identity that you are looking to creatively create within you is the only path there is. You know, you hear about all of that stuff in the motivational quotes and everything like that. You know, don't worry about other people's judgments. Move forward. Nothing matters. You know, all this sort of stuff. But, you know, over all these years helping people with anxiety, I've realized that when you try to logic your way, reason your way with the lower self or inner child or subconscious, whatever you want to call it, I call it lower self today. If you're trying to logic with the lower self and say, hey, this really is the way, and you're trying to think that way, that's the weakest way to heal. It's the weakest form of healing. Right? The other weakest way of healing that I've realized is exposure, because a lot of people do it wrong. People go through exposure therapy or exposure coaching and they expose themselves to the very things that they're afraid of. But they don't realize that it's the feelings and emotions that need to change in order for you to desensitize from the very thing you're afraid of externally. Right? So there you are in an elevator, and you're going, I'm going to expose myself today to this elevator because I no longer want to live with the fear of elevators. Right? You rush into the elevator, you press floor 10, you go up floor 10, and then you rush out, and you say, I did it. And the lower self is going, no. By rushing, you just made what was original even worse. You just justified that there is a fear of elevators. Therefore, anytime we come in contact with an elevator, either physically or imagined, we're going to sound the panic alarm or the anxiety alarm, whichever, right? There's a certain way to go about exposure. And again, there's that word, surrender. Right? You go into an elevator and you start to feel the feelings come up and the emotions and all the thoughts and stuff. It's your job to surrender to all those things, even in the face of dying. That's the key, because courage plays a big part in the anxiety healing journey, right? So you go into the elevator, yeah, you go to floor 10, but you do it in a way where you are moving with the feelings, moving with the thoughts, moving with the catastrophic images that may be playing out in your mind in that very moment. And you say, you know what, I surrender to all these things. And if they are in fact going to come true, which they haven't until now because we are alive, right? And all the fears coming from the lower self have not really been manifested, right? So as you can see, those are things that want to keep us in a perpetual state, connected to a past identity, connected to anxiety. If that is going to happen, lower self, then make it happen kind of approach, right? And now you're going about your exposure work in the elevator the right way, right? And so that word surrender is a very, very powerful and important concept when it comes to anxiety healing. And this isn't easy at first, the idea of surrendering to the feelings and moving with them, right? That's why it's very important that you suffer deliberately rather than suffer unintentionally, right? Or mistakenly. You suffer deliberately. You go to the park, right? You sit on the bench, you close your eyes, and as you close your eyes, you take in the fact that other people are judging you because your eyes are closed. Because we live in a society where if someone is not doing something or looks stressed in some way, other people get worried. They're like, what is wrong with this person, right? They should be doing something. Do, become. But the very moment we start to go back and say, you know what, I really am becoming by not doing, but rather being with the very things that I'm most afraid of and sensitized to, that's when I'm actually creating. You're in the process of creating rather than allowing other people to create for you, right? Which is what has been the case up to now in your life. Other people have decided your fate. Other people have decided your identity. Other people have decided what you believe in and what you don't believe in, right? That's why the moment we come in contact with this idea of inner peace or calm or inner stability, inner freedom, we're not comfortable with it because other people have made us believe that it doesn't get the job done, right? And if it doesn't get the job done, then it's not worth your time nor your effort. So surrender. The idea is nice. It's a very cool concept to surrender, right? That's fine. A lot of people will go that far and say, well, that's nice. One day I hope it shows up, right? But I hope you're not that kind of person where you say one day the surrender will show up and that'd be nice. I'm just going to go back to the familiar place of anxiety again. No. Why do that? Right? Suffer now so that you can live the rest of your life in peace. Right? Butterflies here. That's the key. So you go to the park bench, right? You sit there. But you don't unconsciously look for threats around you, nor do you catastrophize around what you're about to do. But rather, you sit on the bench and you look around and you notice everything without judgment. You just listen to the birds. You just listen to other people's conversations. You even listen to the cars going by that are way too loud, coming from your lower self, way too loud for you to be in this environment in a peaceful state, right? Which is just an idea. And so these ideas mustn't run our belief systems nor our actions. So you just take it all in, right? Without judging them, without being overly critical around them. And you realize that everything is perfect just the way it is for what it is you're about to do. And then you surrender. You close your eyes. You allow the judgments of others because that's normal and natural. You allow them to get freaked out by the fact that you are not doing. You close your eyes and you locate in your body where that negative feeling lies. Oh, there's the fear in my stomach. Feels like a knot in my stomach. Right? And you sit with it and you go directly to it. And you don't judge it. You just feel it. And as you feel it, it may get stronger or may get weaker. It may take 1 minute for it to get stronger or weaker. It may take an hour. It doesn't matter. We don't place time limits on things. We don't do things to get a certain result anymore. That's the key to surrendering. There's no longer an outcome. There's no longer an expectation. You're just being with, right? You're surrendering to the very things that have been perpetuating your anxiety all these years. So you locate the feeling. There it is. It's a knot in my stomach. And you sit there with that knot. And you sit there. And you sit there. And your mind wanders and you bring it back. Your mind wanders and you bring it back. And you come back right to the stomach. And as you move forward, you realize that you're no longer adding to the original fear. There it is. I'm one with it. And I surrender to it. I surrender to it. I surrender to it. Mind wanders. Bring it back. And you go like this for a while. And you ride this wave for a while. And it does feel wavy. You ride this wave. Oh, my lower self realized what I was doing. Doesn't want me to reveal these feelings or feel these feelings. Oh, it's moved to my shoulders. My shoulders feel tense. There's the fear now. It's in my shoulders. All right, eyes closed. Focus on your shoulders. There's the feeling. And now I'm one with my shoulders. I'm not trying to get rid of the tension. I'm not trying to get rid of the fear. I'm one with it, and it naturally starts to dissipate as I become one with it and as I surrender to the feeling. That's the key. So my friends, it's important that we not only understand what surrender really means, but to practice it regularly. It's nice to be on Rumble, by the way. This is my first video. And I hope it helps a lot of people. Surrender. What a concept. What an important concept when it comes to anxiety, healing, but far beyond anxiety healing. You actually find yourself. You start to discover your higher self. And your higher self doesn't have any judgments about things. Your higher self sees everything as perfect, doesn't try to change anything. Your higher self doesn't force. There's no forcefulness. There's no doership. I must do to get a result. And once your higher self is leading, you realize that things happen naturally and there's no longer a need to push. There's no longer a need to pull. There's no more greed. And you realize that you are one with everything. You see yourself in everybody. Therefore, you can't get mad at them because, in turn, who are you getting mad at? You're getting mad at yourself, right? You're not blaming others because, in turn, you're blaming yourself. Everything is connected through your higher self. And I hope that one day you move from being guided by your lower self to your higher self. And we'll be touching on this concept more as we go forward, my friends. But surrender, surrender, surrender. Understanding the deeper meaning behind surrender today. I hope it helped you. I'll see you all very soon. I love you all. And remember that you are more than anxiety. Woo! The birds are singing today.